Hello, this is Professor Robert Needing, and I'm going to be going over a couple things in Desmos today from Math 168. We're going to work specifically right now with working with lists. Working with lists, I'm going to cover how to create a list, copy paste, how to total a list, how to look at the mean of a list, how to look at the standard deviation of a list, and how to get the one variable statistics from a list. And again, this is using the free online version of Desmos. And you can sign up for a free Desmos account by just simply going to desmos.com. And you can do a sign up here and you can use your Google. I'm going to actually log in because I have my Google account already. And I begin with Graphing Calculator. So first of all, let's take a look at this. So I would like to be able to put a list in. And if you haven't already watched my video direction on list and operations, you should definitely watch that first. So this is a little more advanced, if you will. And the first thing you might do as a student is you might go to the untitled graph area up here, and you might save this as working with lists. It was nice to save your data so that you can have it later to refer to it. And then that way you can always send it to me too. Remember, if you want to send lists to me, you just simply go up into the top, you do the share. In the share, you grab the copy list. You send that to me in whatever form it is we're working with, and then I can work with that list and I can send the list back to you. So what do we want to do with a list? Well, first of all, let's simply just create a list. Let's say that I want to create a list of 3 things, 5, 10, 15. I always want to call my list something. So maybe A equal. It's always a bracket for a list. And the lists are always separated by comma notation. And you don't even have to hit the end bracket. You can just simply hit enter. I also gave you some great ways to make lists of different numbers by counting by different values or skipping values or going infinitely to some value. For instance, if we want to go from, let's say, 0, and we want to continue 0 with 3 ellipses, and I want to go up through, let's say, 20, it'll automatically give me those values of 1 through 20. Pretty nice deal. Anytime you want to get rid of a list, just simply close it and it's gone. But remember, it's gone and you can't get it back unless, of course, you hit undo or redo. There's also keyboard shortcuts, and if you haven't looked at the keyboard shortcut stuff that I have, there's an undo and a redo, and you want to get used to that. I'd rather specifically though talk about putting lists in from a list of data that we already have. So for instance, if I went to StatKey and I went to our textbook and I went to our data sets. Our data sets are infinitely many, and we work with a lot of these data sets, and they come down to us as CSVs. And all we have to do is be able to open the CSV. You do not have to have Excel. You can open them with WordPad. You can open them with Notepad. You can open them with anything you have. And I think let's grab one here that looks interesting. How about hot dogs? Hot dogs has to be an interesting piece of data. I'm going to open that up, and all I'm doing is open up a list view so I can see these numbers right here. I'm just simply going to highlight and copy. So I'm going to use Control C, and I'm going to copy those numbers right there. So 62 through 50. I'm going to go back, and I'm going to go back to my listing of values that I had going on in Desmos. I'm going to minimize this. I'm going to go back to Desmos, and now I'm just simply going to go in here. I'm going to Control V. Control V, there's my list of 14 elements I'm working with. If now you can notice my cursor is all the way at the end right here. If I hit the home button on my computer, it'll take me to the beginning of that value, and I'll be now at the end. Or you can also just simply arrow back over until you're at the front. And the reason I want to do that is I want to give it a name. I'm going to give it A equal. I now have a list of 14 elements containing those values that were just pasted in. Practice that pasting in, and we can do some other things with this too pretty soon. So let's go to the first thing that I said. We're going to total these numbers. What do all these numbers add up to be? Well, rather than grabbing a calculator, if I just tell the computer I want it to total, now watch what happens. It goes from a subscript to a non-subscript the minute it has a command. I hit the parenthesis, and I tell it I want A list, and the A list is 821. And maybe I want to get the mean. So I'll type in the mean, and notice this subscript changed. Parenthesis. Again, I have to call up the list that I want. Mean is 58.6428. What else could I do? How about the standard deviation? ST, this is my standard deviation, and we'll see deviation pop up. parenthesis again, 8. You got that by now? Standard deviation of this set is 7.7619. What if I want all of the numbers that are required in order for me to build, say, a box and whisker? And sometimes we call that the one variable statistics. Well, that in Desmos is called stats. When I want the stats of list A, I'll get what we refer to as the 5-number summary. You'll need this 5-number summary for building box and whisker plots and doing other pieces of data. The minimum, the quartile 1, the median, the quartile 3, and the maximum. Have a good time with this. When we come back, I'll do some other technological things in Desmos that will just simply make your life a little bit easier, and remember, for free.